Hey, Inebri-arts, before we get into today's podcast, I just want to give a shout out to today's sponsors. Sponsors make this podcast happen, and, without them, we wouldn't be here. So we just want to say thank you to them. And this episode is presented by Wild CBD. Wild produces the best tasting edibles on the market using real fruit and all natural flavoring, with flavors inspired by the Pacific Northwest, high quality ingredients, real fruit, and consistent dosing. Wild has become one of the leading cannabis edible producers in the country. Wild's new CBD line currently offers real fruit-infused gummies in blackberry, huckleberry, lemon, and raspberry, and CBD-infused sparkling water in raspberry, lemon, blackberry, and blood orange. Blood orange, I love that flavor. So each gummy is dosed with 25 milligrams of CBD and can be purchased in a bottle of 10 or 20. Wild CBD is offering our listeners 30% off their next purchase from wildcbd.com. That's WYLDCBD.com by using the code POD. That's code POD for 30% off your next purchase. Wild CBD products are intended only for the use of individuals age 18 and older. Wild CBD products should only be consumed as directed on the label and should not be used if you are pregnant or breastfeeding. All Wild CBD products are made with ingredients containing 0% THC. Consult with a health professional prior to using Wild CBD in combination with any medications or other dietary supplements. And our second sponsor for today is our good friends at Pretentious Pickles right here in Plymouth, Massachusetts. Pretentious Pickles. Damn it, man. They pickle everything. No matter what kind of vegetable you like, they pickle it. And beyond vegetables, they even do things like cranberries. It's all delicious. It's all hand cut and prepared right here in Plymouth, Massachusetts. They make just the best stuff. They have a store here locally, or you can go to pretentiouspickles.com and place your order online. And they're located at 190 Water Street in Plymouth, Mass. And make sure you check them out. I gotta say, man, I'm a big pickle fan, and their product is just fantastic. So thank you again to both Wild CBD and Pretentious Pickles. And now we're going to jump right into the podcast. Welcome back, Inebri-arts. This is Andy of the Inebri-art podcast, and I'm once again recording at home. And today we're joined by Aaron and Johnny from the band Okey Dokey. Welcome to the shows, guys.
What's up?
Hello.
I'm Aaron. This is his voice.
Oh, yeah, that's kind of important. So that's Aaron. And Johnny's hanging out on a waterfall in the Zoom meeting here.
He's an aquarium child.
What have you guys been up to? How's COVID been treating you? Like, where are you guys located? You said Centennial Park earlier when we were talking. Is that San Francisco? Am I remember that correctly?
Oh, no. Bicentennial. We're in Nashville, Tennessee.
Oh, Nashville.
Yep.
Oh, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
So what's it like down there? Were you guys on tour when this all started?
We were. We were on tour with Somersault. We had been I think 3 weeks in or something, and Nashville was hit by a tornado. Jeremy and I, our third duder, who's not here, we lived together at the time, so we were in Canada, and then everyone's like, a tornado hit town. We're geez. Holy shit. Yeah, so we kind of blindedly, we were blindedly moved out by beautiful people while we were gone. And then Corona hit 2 weeks later or something. We were in Colorado, luckily, only because if we were in California, it's man, this is 30 hours of driving home sad. So we were okay, we're used to this 10 to 12 sadness. But yeah, so we came home March 13th or something, and it's been that way since.
How long have you guys been playing together? Is this a relatively new project, or you guys been around for a while? Or?
We've been around for, I guess, like 3-ish years.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least that's when we started putting music into the public domain.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're young in the spectrum for sure, but we've known each other for quite a long time at this point. Like all the three of us are like a decade strong now, and being friends and wanting to, do things together in general. So Okey Dokey is definitely just kind of like the next and probably most focused rendition of some, decades old trying.
Kind of like this is your serious attempt.
We just feel like more prepared this time.
Yeah.
I'd say Johnny is the best person to answer the attempt and how it differs from other things.
Yeah, we got really good at failing no matter what we did. So this has been our best attempt at learning from all of our failures, at maybe how to fail the least, Yeah. And maybe that success is failing the least out of anybody around you is I think defined as success.
And there's definitely a balance of just never don't laugh at it. Failure is just like, you tried, whatever, dude. I think we're kings of remembering that trying is the truth of making shit. It's just try. Who cares? Like, you don't ever get what you set out for. So failure to me feels like part of getting what you deserve is like you failed in thinking that you'd get what you wanted, but you got what you needed, kind of. So I'm proud of us for that.
I was talking to someone once, and I said something about, I failed at this or I failed at that or whatever, and they're like, you shouldn't use that word. I'm like, why not? It's what happened. Like, I don't attach any baggage to it. I'm not going to let it stop me from trying, but I feel like it's also the only way you learn and improve.
Exactly, yeah. Which is what Johnny, really, I think, would say.
There's this really cool video. I have no idea what it is, but I watched it years ago, and it was like this motivational guy, and he was like, I don't even know what he did or why it mattered about his opinion, but it seemed really cool at the time. And he basically was like, if you expect perfection from the get-go, like you're basically like a egomaniac, basically, but that when you do fail,
exactly,
it's all about like not failing as bad the next time, and then just keep doing that. And he's like, by the end of it, you'll have mastered your craft, because practice is essential to everything. And in music, like, failure is our practice, I guess. Like, you make a song and you're like, wow, that was a bad song, but at the time we thought it was great, but that was like 3 years ago, and now we're a lot better. So you can't then think like, oh, we used to suck. It's like, that's not really the case, but you were just trying your best at, where you were then. Doesn't mean that you used to be really bad or that you can't get really bad, but it just means that, like, I don't know, nothing's really ever perfect, or nothing's ever exactly what you want or what other people expect of you. So like, you're always just going to like give it your best shot, no matter whether you're sculpting or telling jokes or whatever. It's like, some pictures are great, some sculptures are great, some comedy nights you crush it, some shows you crush it, but then the next night you could just fucking fail, you could just the worst show, sculpt the worst thing, like the worst face that you've ever drawn, like whatever it is. And like, doesn't mean you're not still great or getting better. It just means, yeah, that's life, man.
Everyone's got bad days.
Totally.
I'm personally like a very I have a really deep, in this year, pretty like sparked up interest in like alchemy and the history of this, and the fact that it's not like dudes chewing on metal and dying. It's like literally the concept of the spiritual thing, where, much to what Johnny's talking about, like failure is not failure. It's like the tempering of this thing that you are. And it's like this burning method to refine what you are. These songs we write, when we look back and we're like, man, it's still like our voice that we love and that we've built together. And ultimately it is this process of, there's no failure, but there is like this kiln that you put your efforts into. And that's what the success is. It's like, more burning in that kiln and more direction towards, what you are really trying to put out there. That's where people get into, like, if you want to be something, you can. It a lot of times boils into thinking nothing else and just trying a billion times, and then you don't really give a shit about failure, because what is that? That's like minutes on an hour. Who cares?
It's sometimes it's kind of like an insight into who you are. It's like if you look back and I know I have looked through old sketchbooks and been like, wow, I used to love that drawing and now I hate it, but it also really shows my progression as an artist, like how much I've grown since then, and I try to look at that side of it.
Well, exactly, because when you get into that question where you're like, every thought, you're like, man, I fucking hate this song now. And then you go, why do I hate this song now? And you go like, well, I used to love it. And you're like, oh, it's because I figured out how to do this particular thing better, and I like that more now. And like, you just keep the second you think that shit and you speak it, it's inherently different because you have more questions, and it's usually a different story than what that first thing was, which is why it's important to fail a bunch and get over it, because it's really not a big deal.
Is there ever like an inclination to go back to one of those songs that maybe you don't particularly dig anymore and go back and like redo it?
The Right Fit, the first single off of our new album, is a song that I went off to like try to be a better writer 3 years ago. I was like, for me, I don't really care where or when the theme came from, if it makes sense to what we're talking about. So this first single is like a song I wrote with some other guys who Johnny now works with a lot, with Local Opener, his other thing now, which is cool. But when we started to make this record, I very quickly was like, I wrote this song about how I feel now years ago, and it fits here, and we just redid it, and it became so beautiful. Because again, Chris Taylor from Grizzly Bear was who ended up working on that song, and he also ended up working on like the oldest and newest songs on the record, the two of them, that is. And when I wrote that song in general, I was like deeply motivated by the Shields album by Grizzly Bear, and I was able to talk to them at a show about some of it, and I really kept what he talked about in my head. And when it came to that song, it was like, it's got to be this big bombastic thing. And it was like so cool to have him latch onto it, because that thought was kind of there. And a lot of stuff has kind of folded in on itself this year in this project, and kind of learning ourselves more. Because there's definitely been times where all three of us have like hated on ourselves extra hard,
Have you found this year to
not what you want.
To be like a motivator, or like me personally, I've had a really hard time creating stuff during, lockdown, and only recently kind of started making artwork again. But like, has it affected you guys? I know a lot of people have taken the time to come up with a new album or whatever, but what was it like for you?
I'll lead, I guess. I know we've both been working extra hard because, since Corona, both of us have been working on a lot of shit. And sorry, my audio went out. That is what you asked, right? Has it been hard to be creative?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. But I think we are both in positions where what we are doing and what we care about are pretty hard. It makes it really hard to like actually be able to stop, like in our own project. I'm finishing up today an animated video. I've never made one to this depth, but we needed it. And I had to like learn a bunch of shit, new software. We filmed a video with our buddy, and because of Corona, we had to make models for it as our sets, as opposed to going to places. That was something we'd never done. Johnny helped Casey with this recent video that is about to be done. Like, I barely had anything to do with it, but they took, my concept and nailed it. I haven't seen it yet, but I feel great about it. Like, everyone's moving. And then outside of this, I am a visual artist first, I believe. That's how I'll always see myself. So I have a design job outside of what we both care about that, there's just other people there that we don't have much opportunity to slack.
Yeah.
And
I suppose if it's your job, then I suppose, you don't really have much of a choice. You got to produce.
Well, the slack is also real to every timeline, like if Corona wasn't happening, like we've already seen what it looks like when our friends only put out like a record every 2 years or something. Like you have to be a little quicker. You have to do something a little bit anyway, because people are ready for that intention.
Mm-hmm.
They want to see your work, I think, is really the core. Like mastery is few and far between these days. Like, but people can draw and sing and write across the board. Like I believe that heavily, that people can fucking create. Because, I'm a spiritual person, but I grew up with Baptist God, and I always thought it was so dumb, other than the fact that I was like, well, if that God liked to make shit, so do I, I think that's true about everyone, is we make shit, and we're told that it's not the thing we do. It's like that special people do it, and I just think that's wrong. So, even when the world is in whatever the fuck order it was in, we just like wanted to keep making, and Johnny's a tinkerer. If it's not music, it's fucking hot sauce and shit. We're all three the same. Jeremy fixes electrical equipment constantly for other musicians to keep them going. Like Nashville's very much a like, what's going on? Like, let's do it kind of place. And I don't know. The slack is still there though. There's moments where you're like, what are we doing? And those are always like hard, but I think having groups of people that you work well with and respect is like literally the only thing that pushes that shit through. So it is hard to do it on your own, I would say. And I'd say that by fact of what we're doing, we have groups of people on all ends that are kind of like, hey, you still making things? But yeah, I'd say it's always been hard to stay motivated, but then you read like, what is it, Alan Watts or whatever? He's talking about mescaline and shit, and he's like, yo, if you want to meet the enlightened man, find the dude that's drawing quietly in a loud-ass room. That's the dude. I think that's true.
Johnny, Aaron said you had been working on one of the last videos. What was that experience like? Was that something you had done before, or just...
No, not really. I like, I don't know. I like making things all come together. I like getting people that I think are good at certain things and putting them together with other people that I think are good at other things, and then watching it all happen. It's like people fireworks,
Yeah.
That's good.
To me, that's fun. And so I had become friends with this like wave dancer. If you don't know what, like they move their body parts really weird.
Okay.
It's kind of like, I don't want to say popping and locking, but it's a deeper, newer rendition of that kind of movement,
Okay.
Yeah, it's cool. And he lives here in Nashville, and I had seen him through him like dancing to just some like hip hop artists that our manager works with as well. And I was like, man, that's awesome. It would be so cool if we could like bring in this different element into what we're doing. So we sort of made like mildly like modernized Power Ranger outfits sort of for these three guys to sort of do choreographed wave dancing to in weird locations throughout the city. And then on some green screen stuff, kind of like how I'm in a beautiful valley,
and then on a
right now,
and then on a waterfall, and
I'm a traveling son of a gun. But yeah, it was really fun, man. And again, most of my time is spent just standing around staring at other people doing what they do, because I'm not a dancer and I'm not a video guy. So I was just standing there like, yeah, You guys are doing great. I'm so impressed.
Yeah, that's I'm kind of the guy. Like, oh, you need an alpaca? Yeah, I got a guy for that. So it's like I
Sure,
feel
totally.
kind of that. I love that kind of coordinating of talented
I got
people.
some alpaca right now.
What's that?
I think I got an alpaca guy right now.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
But
Are
yeah,
those guys called the Fixers? Is that what it is?
I don't know.
The Fixers.
I'm pretty
Sure.
sure
Fixer.
it's called like a fixer. Is the guy who's
You're
like,
a
you need
fixer.
something, I got it.
Yeah.
If you need that, I know a dude for that.
But I love
I
that, like coordinating with people and working collaboratively. That to me, that's the most exciting part of the creative process.
Yeah, totally. Because I know what I can do, and I know what certain other people can do, but I have no idea what they can do when they're together. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's when it's more interesting, more unique.
So when you guys
Yeah.
are working on music, do you tend to bring in people from other bands, or you just stick with the three of you guys, or how do you write new music?
It's changed, I'd say, a
Well,
few
it's kind of all
times,
over the
you know?
place, depending on
It's
what
all
we're
over the
doing.
place. But it definitely starts with like we 90% of the time have a song and we look for interest and then we roll with those people. Hey, Pepper Daddy.
Just got 3 more habaneros, dude.
Just out foraging on the hillside there.
It sucks to know that with podcast people, they can't see our exciting Zoom of like me traveling through a forest and finding peppers.
It's very it's very
One
topical.
dimension.
Yeah. There you go.
That's okay. They can just close their eyes and listen to this podcast. They're like, man, I just envision him picking 3 peppers.
I mean, they can envision my 3 fingers up right now.
Yeah.
You know, they could see this huge dog next to me.
Wow, that is such a big dog.
Overhead. Man, you can still see the dog's head as I watch these birds. They're just experiencing this conversation in a sound density, and they can uncork that stuff and see us. Come on, everybody, walk into this room.
So, Johnny, are you growing habaneros? Is that what's happening over there? Because Aaron said you're into hot sauce. And
I'm a hot sauce guy.
He is the hot sauce, is what I'm saying.
Oh,
I have like 100 bottles in my back garage right now, and I also have. It's so weird. You can't even see anything with my. There's a whole bag of peppers. This whole outside thing is so weird.
Actually, maybe 6 months ago. 6 months ago, I tried a Carolina Reaper just straight up.
Oh yeah.
No, I'll never do that again.
But once you do, honestly, it doesn't really fuck you up that bad anymore.
It was weird because like right after I ate it, you get like that huge endorphin rush.
Oh yeah,
I'm like, oh, I get it. I get why people do this. And then, like 2 hours later, I was sick as a dog. So I'm like, I'm not doing that again.
Yeah,
you gotta get used to it for sure. Johnny grew up in Texas, just getting used to it his whole life, and I had Indian roommates for 4 years that helped me get used to it really hard when I moved to Nashville, and you got to get used to it, man. That's why the hot chicken thing is like a Nashville thing. It's like, it's not really, but people are very used to it here, you know. But come get the real thing. See how used to it you are, you know.
So you guys are in Nashville. It's like Nashville's known for music. Did you guys move there because of that, or is it just happenstance, or like how'd you end up there?
Fire, John.
I went to school here, and Aaron grew up not far from here. So I ended up just staying because where I'm from is not very exciting. Like for me personally, I know it's exciting for some people and some people love it, but it wasn't really my speed. And I think same for Aaron, smaller town, not a lot going on. So I'm definitely a social bug. I like sitting around with my friends and telling jokes and I usually go to bed around 2 or 3 in the morning, and I like growing peppers and fucking hanging out and hiking. Be my friend.
So generally,
But
people
yeah.
think of Nashville as like country music, and I wouldn't classify you guys as that.
We kind of are sometimes, though.
Yeah.
It's still there. Yeah. But you're right, we're not. But it's still there. It doesn't leave Nashville people. If you're here from here, mentally here, it's there. You know what I mean? Like, there's a whole different structure of songwriting to where it's like more so the backlash you get if you don't go for it. You know, they're like, hey, do you have a song? Wonderful, but can you play that shit? Does it sound cool live? Do I feel the same way? Are you giving it to me? Is your band great? Okay, go take over the world. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
so it's such an old school, like, you gotta do this, boy, kind of shit.
Mm-hmm.
But it's awesome because you really see it in the spirit of the city. It's like such a friendly place, but like, you know, when shit's like dumb and people need people to be there for each other, people speak up and they're like, who the fuck are you? Go home. This is our place. Please. Hello. You know, like, very much that attitude's everywhere, and it's not like a I'm coming at you thing. It's like there's not really like a pride to the state of Tennessee here anymore. There's a pride to the people that fucking kick ass in Nashville.
But is it a misconception that it's mostly country music? Is there other?
I'd say that misconception is kind of disappearing because it's not like country is still huge, but it's not like it's really blowing shit up. It's pretty fucking boring. Like, rap is taking over everything as it should. It's more exciting. Like, you know, there are so many bands in town that are like, no fucking way are they country and never would they be, but do they love Roger Miller and do they love Johnny Cash and do they love these old stories and stuff, and does that help them shape their songwriting as a song about an experience and not a song about how bored you are that day? Like, it's very different. But yeah, it's still seen as the country city by people who see it as like a mecca for that, which is a lot of people. But I'd say that the general musical landscape doesn't really see it that much that way anymore. You get a lot of like, I mean, Taylor Swift left Nashville and became like immediately pop, but she was never really like country.
Yeah.
So like, you see the influence, but you see the trajectory into the different shit ultimately, which is what happens with Nashville people. I think it's a melting pot of like, you're pretty cool, let's make something. You know, like that I love about it. And that's very country, is like Waylon and Willie all singing about each other on their songs. Like on our last record, we just straight up gave a bridge to a buddy of ours because we loved him. He was like, I got an idea for this. I've just been singing it in the car. We were like, cool, it's yours. You're our future, brother. Because that's what country dudes do, and they love each other. And that's there. You know, it's all there.
Awesome. So when things are, like, are you guys making plans for when things kind of, quote unquote, go back to normal? Like, are you planning 2021 yet, or?
Of course. Trying to. Johnny's becoming a light being.
Yeah, he's almost like angelic.
He is angelic.
I can't quite figure out how to stay in the frame without disappearing. Yeah, we're planning stuff for next year. I think they're telling us, which now it's like September 1 or 2, and they're telling us that we're looking at starting to book shows in April and May of 2021.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds
like
about
another
predictable, yeah.
Yeah, another 6 or so or 8 months. I don't even know. Somewhere in there. Sure.
I'd say we're definitely planning as hard as people are capable of right now. But if you talk to any like booking agent or anyone right now, they're like, I kind of work. I just sort of rebook the same shit 3 months down the road over and over. And that's what I've been doing. You know, it's just literally the state of things. So,
yeah, I feel like a lot of local places, even prior to this, had a habit of doing that, where it's like they'll have a band come in that fills the the venue, and they'll just keep booking them every like 4 months or so, and then they'll kind of be like, oh, the crowd's not really here anymore, and be like, yeah, bring in something new, try to keep it fresh.
That's definitely on the bands too, like you got to inspire people to want to be there as well, because a lot of times, like, really, like, people paying for a ticket is a mental show of like, I'm investing my wealth and what I have in what you do. I'm a part of it now. I want to watch it flourish. It's like a social, emotional investment to buy a ticket for a show.
Mm-hmm.
So like, when the investment starts to disappear, a lot of the time it's just truly that person doesn't feel that the energy's there anymore and that their investment is over. And I'm talking emotional connection investment, not just money. It's like,
right.
People are pretty like straight up with what they're doing. It's why you don't give shit away. People will give you the help you need if they want to, What
ways do you keep that emotional connection with your listeners?
I would say that, I'm sorry, Johnny, I'm just firing off everywhere. I would say that I personally, like, I tend to, we literally listen to our listeners. Yesterday we had a dude that started hitting us up because he loved our band. We see him at shows all the time. He plays with people. He was like, man, I'm recording, like, I hope to make a song with you guys someday. And I was like, fucking email me. I just got a Logic trial and I listened to it in the shower 3 times this morning. It's fucking great. I'm gonna hop on it. And that's listening and connecting with people that like you. And I'd say that from a different standpoint, like, I don't appreciate social media as a place where anyone should see what the fuck my life is, because that's not what it is.
Yeah.
It's a social media place. It's like you're projecting what you think is important to share. It's your media. It's your personal business of life, So for me, I listen to shit people say at shows or shit I hear people say around town, just stuff that is like, man, like, you're not going to go to a therapist for this, but there should be people who say things that help. So I keep those in my head and I make posts very much so coded to experiences I've heard and saying like, we are here for that, and this is fucking dumb, and this is how we feel, and I know that you feel this, and you need to know that that's where we are too. And I think that every day as someone in this position, like, that's the effort. I've gotten mad at my friends before for playing shows and having these kids just trying to like say hi to them over a fence or something, and they don't want to go say hi. And I'm like, well, that's why it's going to go a certain way for you if you treat it that way. Those people are here to promote this thing you love, and you're not seeing how connected they are to it. And that to me is pretty like egotistical to even assume. I hate the idea of a stage separating. Like, every show we play, I get the fuck out in the crowd because I hate how separate the stage feels. I love the way that a crowd responds to a human giving energy out in a way that it's hard to stand up there and do that, and people need it. I like to say that Johnny, Jeremy, and I, and who we bring out, are okay with being these people, but we don't give a fuck about whatever those people are in your head. We're just still us. And I get shit all the time online because one of our last shows, as Corona was trickling into the atmosphere of conversation, I got everybody to hold hands. I was like, let's fucking hold hands. Like, if you can't hold a human's hand and be happy about it, what is wrong with you? Like, I'm not singing until everybody's doing it. And we all did it. That's what I was doing all week, because I was like, people need to hold hands. Get over this shit. Touch each other. Feel good about a room. And I still get called out for like, oh yeah, that's the night that he made us hold hands as a pandemic was coming down the pipe. And I said it that night. I was like, we're not going to be able to do this for a fucking while. You need to connect. It's important. And we're going to end it this way. And it was fucking sad, because people don't put proper stock into how programmed into us connected experiences. Like, ancient people never thought that people thought. They thought that thoughts peopled every day. And that's fucking real. Like, that is so real. So that's what is important about connecting with an audience, is that shit's real. When people are in an audience experiencing happy, they're all thinking the same ass happy together. It's one thought. It's not a stage is different and these people don't do that and I'm special because I make shit. That's completely like modern human context. It sucks. So, and I talk in big fat circles and I always will.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pose a question to Johnny. Just make sure he's still there.
I don't even remember what the question was.
I knew that was coming.
Yeah.
Aaron's taking me on some social journey, and I don't even know what the question was.
So, Johnny, do you see, like, as Corona ends, do you see it kind of being like a light switch where everyone suddenly comes back out? Or do you think it's going to be more of like people will kind of gradually feel more comfortable about coming out again?
I don't know. I know that they were saying, after the flu that got everybody in World War I and such, the Great Flu, that right after that came the Roaring '20s, and came like a renaissance of creation, both like mechanically and musically, and there was people dancing around in crazy colored dresses, and the recession was done, and America kicked ass.
And illegal booze, and
yeah, we had moonshine.
Well, they needed that booze. I think we get legal weed. That's the story.
So I don't know. I think that history shows us a lot of the times what will happen in the future, but we live in such a strange world and time with everybody's opinions being so, I don't know, blown up and extorted, or also changed or slandered or whatever. It's like hard to even trust anything at all except for your friends really anymore. So at least of what's true or what's not or what's this or that, it's like everyone's got some theory. I remember even when COVID started, our big joke was my friend's dad's friend works in the White House and said that we all, or it was like my buddy's dad's a military general and he said that we all got to go into lockdown. It was like everybody had a friend that had some insight to some weird federal bureau. I was like, this is all just horseshit, man.
We were watching dudes in Colorado sprinting in the grocery store with big things of toilet paper while we were like waiting to leave. Man, it's already happening. Look at that guy.
I remember very early on there was like a news report that I saw where they're sending kids home from school, and some woman showed up and she was like completely covered in like trash bags. Like all except for her face though, which made no sense. And then they cut to this guy who was picking up his son, and he had like Windex, and he was just spraying it all like in his kid's face. Just
he's like, drink it.
Yeah, it's so weird.
Worked in Mamma Mia, man. I think it was Mamma Mia, right? Where the Windex just. No, it was My Big Fat Greek Wedding. It was the grandmother used Windex for everything.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
You're all. It was great.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that Corona in general, it's like when I look back and forward at everything about it now, or try to perceive what's going on and what has, like a lot of people were really, really mad the other day when the CDC put out the Corona stats or whatever, and it was like 1,000 people have died from just Corona, and people were so mad, and I was like, but can we please, hold on, though? It was not hard to be a little safe in the name of people who did die. And also, who the fuck ever thought Corona was killing people by itself? It's always been like a show promoter disease. It's like, I require the artist that is heart disease to put these butts in their suit. Like, it's a fucking coattail disease. That's like, of course it's perfect for anything, because you guys, all of us, have treated our bodies like these decanters for shit that Corona should fuck with. It's the same as cancer is waiting for you if you're beefing it up your whole life. Like, it grabs on to shit. That's going to be every disease we talk about forever. It's like, what are you doing with your diet? Are you hydrated? What are you fucking doing with your body? Like, most people who die of starvation, they die in like 3 or 4 days because they've never even detoxed their body out in their life, and they actually just drown in their own shit. It's like, we've got to understand that, like, yeah, there's reasons to be pissed, but there's also a reason to, like, look at yourself and be like, how are we treating ourselves? Why is this thing having such an easy time? You know, it's like, it seems so easy to just plop it down anywhere. And America's like, yeah, fuck me up. We've just been acting this way forever. It doesn't change my view of any stat to know that Corona isn't strong on its own. I've always felt that way. I knew that, you know, I'm either massively asymptomatic or just not going to be dealing with it. Like when we were on tour, we saw people getting the crud and the general thing, and we saw people like get the symptoms and pass it. And I was like, okay, so that feels like the age health thing. And then you see the numbers and it's like, well, we're imposing bad health practices into all of the areas where this shit is blowing up. I grew up in a town with a Save-A-Lot, and that's all we had. I ate shit-ass food my whole life, and I still do sometimes, you know, like, that's what we do to ourselves.
It's funny, like, I think, so I live in a tourist area. I live about three blocks from Plymouth Rock, and people are up in arms. What's that?
I was going to say, you've got a statue there, I think, of my great 17 times up grandfather, Niles Standish. Who
Sure.
He was an awful dude.
The Pilgrims were not nice people.
No, they weren't.
No.
That's like my family's like, wasn't that cool? And I'm like, not really. Oh, he sucks.
Yeah. We actually, on another show that we do, we did a like history of the Pilgrims trip. And it was literally, as soon as they got here, they're like, oh, and we stole food from the Indians. And then we went a little further up and stole more food from them. And it was just, they weren't great people.
Yeah.
Where's it going? Oh, so there's a lot of people downtown, and you know, it's. I feel like people are generally trying to be safe, but we're really bad at being consistent with things we don't want to do as a nation. So it's like you see people wearing masks, and then they're kind of lax, and then they're kind of lax until something happens, and then they're good again. So I think humans aren't great at staying with things that they don't want to do.
I have 3 times since this started been at the grocery store and looked at some dude stocking fruit and been like, yo, if I have to fucking do this, you have to do it while I buy fruit from you. Okay? Like, what are you doing? You're just help. You know, it's annoying because a lot of the issues that, like, we don't fucking do shit we don't want to ever. And, like, it sucks because it takes some kind of, like, dumb thing to be like, oh, wait, let's just take a couple steps back, and it doesn't hurt to fucking wear a thing. I honestly like the mask because I can go to the grocery store and kind of just ignore everybody a little more.
And it's that great, like, I'm sorry, I can't understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, so I don't know, man. It's just like, I think the core of this is if there's anything you can see where someone that's human is being, like, pushed or kicked around is what we look to help with. If elderly people are dying because Corona likes them and they're freaked out, like, help them not be freaked out. It's helping you not be freaked out to care about other people, you know?
Yeah, I mean, go to the grocery store for them, help them be less exposed, you know? It's...
If there's 1 million billion black people in the street saying we need help the fucking black people in the street today. Like, help the people that are asking for help. What the fuck is wrong with that? Nothing.
Wow, we got Aaron all heated up now.
And that answers what I think's going to happen here after COVID. I think that sums it up for me. We've answered his question in the craziest way.
People are going to go right back into the streets as soon as it's open. Everyone wants to be out and connect and live again. But I hope that it is not a long time before people see how ridiculous being separate is, and they treat each other better by just enjoying numbers, you know? Like, I hope people drop a lot of the drama they felt before COVID and just kind of leave their houses appreciating the people that are also out of their houses. Like New York City since COVID has not been New York City. The energies. It's the best place in the world for people energy. That's why everyone's dipping, because they're like, where's our fucking city? It's in the people there.
Have you guys done any shows recently? Because I know around here they're starting to put on socially distant shows. In fact, I'm going to one in just a couple hours. So from a fan standpoint, I'm really excited because I get to see live music again. But is that something that you guys have done, considered doing, have plans to do?
We're waiting on a moment where we all can say, like, yeah, let's do this now. Because another thing I think about is the people who listen to us and how they feel about it. And another way to connect is, like, I ask, like, rando questions a lot on Instagram. Not to be weird, just to see, like, where people are at, like, what they've heard, what they're engaging in, just to know our people more. And I'd say that it's I'd say like a 70-30 split, people who are like really compassionate and then people who are kind of like, this is dumb, let's get out there. So we're not going to like misrepresent the people who support us by not thinking about them as we decide where to go. So we're doing live streams, we're jumping in online and being there, like we're present, but it's still a moment to think about the bigger picture before we jump out there. And that comes down to the people who support us. To me, like, it's the same thing as fucking politics. There's a constituency of love. And, like, the band you're going to see tonight, like, you love them, you want to go see them. I'd say that, I hope for them, like, a majority of their fans feel that way, because then that's a decision you make. You're there for other people.
Yeah.
So we're just kind of, like, we're just keeping our eyes open to what's the best for what we felt, who we're with, like just trying to be have our foot in our mouth less as we move forward,
And before we get going, what are you guys listening to now? Is there any up and coming bands that you've been listening to that people should check out?
Johnny Boy?
I don't know. I listen to a lot of old stuff. I don't know. I'm terrible at this because I listen to I almost listen to like one song of like maybe a million bands or artists. So I don't have a favorite or anything current. I just keep it on a big old rotating wheel. I know Andrew Wyatt from Mike Snow just put out some new stuff. I really like him. Trying to think of some other weird stuff that's been coming out. Aaron, what the heck do you listen to, man?
Okay. I am on constant burn at work. I'm constantly listening to a mixture of Lee Hazelwood, Stereo Lab, Nancy Sinatra, Astrid Gilberto. I love the Gilbertos. But more recently, I am beyond excited for the new Flaming Lips album.
Oh, sure,
because man, like I love them. I love their approach to things. I love bands that utilize noise. Like I've been listening to the last Lightning Bolt record, like fucking just so much this month because it's such good noise. It's just energy, But this Flaming Lips record.
Are you a fan of like Michael Patton's projects, Mr. Bungle, Phantom, stuff like that?
Yeah. And then I'm also like a massive fan of like fucking Converge. I love them. I just like energy. I listen to the OCs constantly. They're kind of one of my favorite soft, heavy energies. Like they do it so well. But the new Flaming Lips record, I'm so excited about because I feel like the last 3 or 4 albums they've released have been pretty like noise rock kind of heavy static sort of project. Whereas this one is like, man, song after song that I've heard so far, introspection that feels kind of back to the soft, beautiful nature of like, Do You Realize, or the Soft Bulletin, or those, the records that you see people just like screaming every word when you go see them. It's these like existential, just like notations in song. It's the easy ones. And this record is just, I'm really excited because I think Wayne and the group have always been people who understand civil disobedience to a very important level, and I respect the fuck out of that. I think it's important. So I'm excited to hear a record where these proponents of living life and being your fucking self are saying some shit to people again outside of the celebrity spectrum. Like, I love this group for the plain Jane, like, nah, that's not right for me aesthetic they've always had. You know, the way that they'll throw fuck you into a song, and it's so sweet. You don't hear that it's saying like, no, fuck you, like, fuck you. I cannot wait for this record.
Nice.
I'm beyond excited.
And where can our listeners go to check out your stuff?
They can go to Spotify. That way we can see if you found us or not. Apple Music. I'd say the rest of the spectrum as far as what I've been listening to. I make playlists every couple months and drop them on Apple Music. You can go to @SmileLikeTheWind, boy, to check out that. And I don't know, it's just a mixture of stuff that I dig lately, but I'd say the Flaming Lips record, I think, is important right now. I'm excited for it.
Yeah. And you guys are on all the social medias and have a website and all that stuff, so when you guys are touring, people can go there to find out where you're going to be?
We're not good at TikTok, not good at Twitter, but we're all over the place, yes.
Yeah. I feel like Johnny would be great at TikTok. I feel like this whole video has been
one big TikTok.
He would be a master of TikTok, yes.
Yeah.
We have a TikTok, but we've never posted anything because I don't understand even where to begin. For me, it's like a whole thing I've got to understand conceptually, and I just don't. And I'm like, you want me to dance?
We don't have living rooms to dance on.
Yeah.
You know, we don't have the house space for a lot of the TikTok shit.
It's true.
We're trying to get there.
I have a lot of space out here, though.
Yeah, Johnny's got a ton of space.
Bro, UFO! Feeling fan, my bad.
All right.
Awesome, guys.
Well, good talking to you, Andy.
Yeah, I want to say thank you for joining the show and wish you guys the best. And our listeners should go check out your stuff on Spotify. And
hey, do you draw? You said do you use Procreate?
No, I'm so old. I use like pen and paper and.
Well, that's where I started. That's where I love. I'm a pen and ink guy. But send me some sketches. Let's do a co-draw. I can just pop it in there and we'll just collaborate.
So I'll end this recording and then you can give me your email and I'll send you over some stuff.
I'll give it to everybody. I'll change it if it gets too weird.
All right, that's your call, man.
If you need to talk to me, just hit me up at AaronDrawsRealGood@gmail.com. That's real though. Hit me up there.
DrawsRealGood@gmail?
Yeah, that's an ode to my small town, by the way. It's not really good. It's real good.
Real good. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome, guys. Well, I appreciate it, and we'll catch you guys some other time, and stay healthy.
Love you, meanie. Bye, Johnny.
Bye, Johnny.
Thanks for listening to today's podcast. You can find us on all social medias at Inebri-art or on Instagram at Inebri-art6. You can email us at Inebri-art@yahoo.com. And make sure you listen to the other podcasts on the Inebri-art Podcast Network, including Bar Talk, Old Colony Cast, Retro Redoctopus, America's Hometown Horror Podcast, and our newest one, Theme Park Legends, a podcast about working at theme parks. What else? And we'll catch you again next time.